I am Neil Larthos. I am the next Abdullah. You are the next Neville Goddard. Your SP gets wet, moist, every single time they think of you, and your bank account makes Jeff Bezos look homeless. Okay? Alter egos. So, I don't know why manifestation coaches don't talk about this. I don't know why manifestation coaches don't bring this up more, but we have been using alter egos our whole entire life, okay? For example, if you are a teacher, okay, you might have a wild side outside of school, outside of when you're not teaching children, right? But if you are a female teacher, you're not going to act like the way you like to act when you're at the club on Saturdays, on Monday when you're with your students. And if you are, you'll be on Channel Fox 4 News, right? So the same way that you mask yourself from your true identity and put on this professional face, whether it's in front of students, whether it's in front of your boss, whether it's in front of customers, whatever, that is an alter ego. It's the same way like when you notice that you treat your friends different or you act different around your friends than the way you act around your mother, right? But you see, it goes deeper than that. And that's what I wanted to focus on in this video. Because I already made a video about this, but in this video, I wanted to discuss that whether you are conscious of it or not, or whether you have noticed this, but all of us have a image or self-concept, but an actual visual image of what we see ourselves, of how we see ourselves, okay? Now, for example, growing up, I used to be picked on all the way up to when I was 11 years old. I used to be picked on because I had long, curly hair, okay? And as you can imagine, especially in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, okay, I was still what, a Generation X, I think is what they call them, or millennial, excuse me. You can imagine that growing up with a long set of curly hair not only would make me mistaken as a girl, especially because I have a beautiful face, right? But I would get picked on, even by kids who already knew that I was a boy, right? And because of this, and because I got so used to having long hair for 11 years of my whole entire life, there's a part of me, even to this day, that I have to fight against where I feel feminine. And not because I'm not masculine enough, not because I'm fucking gay, nothing to do with my sexuality at all. It's just simply because whatever you see yourself as, or even what other people might perceive you to be, if you keep hearing that over and over again and seeing yourself as that, that is what you will become, right? And what's interesting is the reason why I bring that up is because even to this day, even in my 30s, I will sometimes subconsciously feel the hair down below my neck, almost like if I have to go like, yeah, bitch, you know what I mean? And I haven't had bushy long hair since I was fucking what, 14? I cut the long hair because the long hair that I had for 11 years was down to my ass, okay? So it was long as fuck. So it was basically, I mean, I either look like a girl or I look like a hippie, right? And don't ask me why, that's maybe another video. But I haven't had long hair in fucking centuries, right? But even to this day, I can feel that, right? So what am I getting at? Well, not only do I sometimes feel the hair, but because I got so used to that feminine feeling of having long hair and people telling me, oh, long hair equals you being a girl. Because of that, I naturally have a image of me in I have like a feminine version of myself in my brain. Not even a fucking, this is the strange part. It actually doesn't even look like me. I know this is gonna sound really fucking strange, but there is like almost like a fucking what's her name? Angelina Jolie type of woman in my fucking brain. And I'm not thinking of her because I want to fuck her, even though, I mean, who wouldn't want to fuck Angelina Jolie? But I mean, there are times that when I feel that feminine energy in me, I see myself, or I wouldn't even say I see myself, I just think of a woman, almost like a soccer mom in my brain. And without me even knowing, I start feeling a little weak. I start feeling a little anxious. I'm, indecisive, right? But then, and I felt like that for years, okay? I would notice this feminine entity pop up in my brain, and I used to think that maybe it was just because I had ADD and I just have these random fucking thoughts, and maybe it is. But your subconscious doesn't know if you have ADD. Your subconscious doesn't know if you are hyperactive or if you have dyslexia. Heck, your subconscious doesn't even know if you have fucking AIDS. All it does is it feeds off of energy. And when I would see that Angelina Jolie character driving her fucking soccer mom van, okay, for some fucking strange reason, my subconscious took it as this is you. And therefore, if I was being more aggressive, being more masculine, all of a sudden I would see that image and my whole entire operation would become more indecisive, worried, doubtful, anxious, feminine traits. No offense, ladies, but you know it's fucking true. And so it took me years until I realized what the fuck this whole feminine imagery in my brain meant. And when I became really, when I dove deep into spirituality and got into manifestation and working on my mind, when I noticed this, I was able to use it to my advantage, right? I realized the same way that I could pop that image and have that image of a soccer mom in my brain pop up in my head, to which it would then cause me to act a certain way, is the same way that I can just replace it with an image in my favor, right? So when I realized that, and I know this is like, what the fuck are you talking about, Neo? But this is, if there's anything you're going to get from this fucking video, it's this. The way that I could just have an image, and it wasn't even fucking HD. I couldn't even really tell the fucking details of this woman's face. All I know is that it was just, like when you think of a pink elephant, you're not actually looking at the fucking hair on the skin, but you think pink and you think a fucking silhouette of an elephant, whatever, right? It's the same way when I saw the woman, right? Well, the same way that I saw that woman is the same way that I can replace it with a different entity. And that's where alter egos come in. You see, if any of you guys know a little bit about alter egos, right? You know that you probably have heard of the likes of fucking, whether it's fictional characters like Superman, I mean Clark Kent being Superman, or fucking Miley Cyrus being Hannah Montana, or a more realistic example, Kobe Bryant being the Black Mamba, right? Which is, the example I use a lot, right? May he rest in peace. He obviously was not a snake, but when he would envision himself as a snake, he would actually, before games in the locker room, imagine himself being locked up in a cage and the snake coming out. And he used this as a method only for the basketball court, not when he was with family, not when he was working in interviews after the games, strictly for the basketball court, where he was in the zone and he didn't want to deal with the hardships and the personal issues that Mr. Kobe Bryant dealt with. He wanted to be the aggressive part of his nature, right? And so when I realized that we have been using alter egos our whole entire life, and I realized just how it's all about the way you perceive yourself, just like the way Kobe Bryant perceived himself being locked up, putting away Kobe temporarily and letting the Black Mamba come out. Well, I realized something. When you understand alter egos and then you realize that you are God and that you are not the mind or the body, which might have been something that Kobe Bryant might not have even realized, that he didn't even have to put Kobe Bryant in the cage. He could just go from selecting Kobe Bryant, like on the screen of your mind, like if your mind is fucking Netflix, and you go from watching Breaking Bad to Grey's Anatomy, right? Well, he could have just simply gone in his mind and said, okay, we're gonna put Kobe Bryant on resume watching, and then we're going to start this new series called The Black Mamba, right? Well, the same way that I saw that woman in my brain, where apparently my subconscious was thinking that I was feminine in that moment, but then I would go back to being the regular Neo, right? Is the same way that I can make a new image, but this time in my favor. So I ended up creating Neo Larthos, which is not my real name. It is a character, an alter ego that I created based off of a H.P. Lovecraft character called Nyarlathotep, who is like a godlike creature, has these manipulative powers. But I wanted it to be kind of like this creative thing where I said, well, what if Nyarlathotep had a son who, instead of wanting to manipulate human beings for evil, he just wanted to be a fucking player god, where he used his god powers to seduce every attractive woman's heart, right? And so I created his name off of combining Nyarlathotep and Thanos, and just, you know, big Avengers fan. And that was really just the name, but in reality, I created this alter ego because I realized that there was some ways that I would act feminine around certain women. Or I would just not act like my confident self, right? Because I always was told ever since I was a child that I was a very charismatic person. And it's interesting because I would also have other people, maybe when, like, I would have some classes in school where I was the class clown, and then other classes where it's like, are you like mute? Like, what's wrong with you, Neo? Like, you're so weird. You never talk. Right? I would go from being the most extroverted guy to they thought I was fucking mute, right? And I would even sometimes recognize that as a child, and not knowing any better, I thought, okay, well, maybe there's something wrong with me. But no, I was shifting fucking states without even realizing it. But why was I shifting states? Because I thought that I had to protect myself from certain people when I didn't feel comfortable. So therefore, I shifted to the state of the quiet guy in order for them not to see my unique charismatic side, because I didn't know these people yet. I didn't feel comfortable around them. So therefore, my ego wanted to protect me in case they wouldn't accept me, because I didn't know how to deal with rejection, right? And even up into my adult years, I recognized that there was a little bit of that with women, right? Where if it was a woman who had fucking daddy issues and maybe was a 6 out of 10, I could just be myself and whatever, right? But if it was a girl who was a fucking 10, my type, you know, just all the guys blowing up her DMs and the fear that if we go out, she'll probably cheat on me, right? That type of girl. If it was her, I had to be on my best behavior, and I didn't even see her anymore as a girl, as a human being. I saw her above me, right? And when I got into the spiritual side of life, I recognized that there was not anything wrong with me. This was simply just me shifting states. And when I took advantage of that, and then I created Nyarlathotep, this character where I could just simply say Neo, and then I know, okay, this means that I now am the version of myself, the godlike version of myself who can seduce any woman that he pleases. And you know, what's interesting is that when you create an alter ego, you think that you have to like force it, right? But just like the way that we say that when you do an imaginal act, you don't have to do anything in the 3D. You don't have to text your SP. You don't have to go to the gym if you don't feel like going to the gym. If it's a natural inspired action where you don't think twice, then do whatever comes naturally. But when you're in the alter ego, you will notice your behaviors will change naturally, right? This is not you like, okay, if you're Kobe, when he was the Black Mamba, he didn't think, okay, do I have to fucking slither like a fucking snake and, you know, stick out my tongue? No. He just simply knew that when he went in his brain and told his imagination, which is the true reality, which is the true source, that he was a Black Mamba, then everything came out naturally, right? And notice that his subconscious knew that he wasn't actually trying to be a fucking literal snake, a literal fucking animal. Your subconscious might be dumb, but it's not retarded, okay? Like I said, it speaks energy. And when you come at it with this energy of, I am doing this to shift to the version of me who has SP, who has the balls to talk to the 10 out of 10s, right? Who never gets cheated on, never gets ghosted on. That's the reason why I use this godlike creature in Neolarthos. Because a little backstory about me before making this fucking video into another Avengers Doomsday, right? I always have seen me as a unique human being. I've never seen myself as just a normal fucking NPC, right? And there has even been times where I almost felt like, I know this is going to sound really fucking crazy, but there has even been times that when I was really deep in religion, I thought, what if I'm an actual fucking prophet or a chosen one or something like that? And then I realized that I'm actually, you know, not even from this fucking world, right? And because of that, you know, the idea of having an alter ego that is like a god, even though we actually are all gods, but like a Zeus type of god, that idea really resonated with me. And that's honestly how I've felt whenever I was confident, whenever I was in the flow state, right? And when you're creating your alter ego, I would suggest that you create it. First of all, you don't have to create an actual animal version of yourself or a fucking Batman or anything like that. I actually think the more you make it look the same, with the same flaws, the same fucking boogers in your nose, but the only difference is that you have SP, right? Now, with me, the only reason why I made it a god version is because, you see, in my little fantasy, Neolarthos is a god, but he uses the avatar of my body. So I made sure to make that distinction. That way I, you know, can look at my hands and still say, yeah, these are Neolarthos' hands. This is just his human form, right? And of course, now that we know non-duality, now that we know that we're just eternal beings living in a human experience, it worked out, right? So I would suggest that and you can do whatever you want because it still works the same, but I think it's more functionable, more easier when you just tell yourself that you're going to create an alter ego that looks the same physically, but the only difference is it has SP. And I would suggest to make it obviously an actual alter ego, an alternative version of yourself. Give it a fucking name. Because look, here's the deal, guys. This is like when your fucking English teacher told you to write an essay about whatever the fuck you wanted. And she said, I don't give a fuck if you don't put commas. Just pour your heart out. Like in a creative writing class, motherfuckers. Okay, you are a creator. You created the fact that your SP blocked you on all platforms because you are that fucking creative. The only difference is that you got to take your creative powers and use it for good. Use it for your advantage. Make this fun, okay? I mean, fucking draw pictures, okay? If you girls are one of the ones who are like in your notebook and, you know, like to color with little, you know, markers, right? Do that, okay? Whatever you got to do. This is fun because, you know, this is why the Bible says, put on the armor of the Lord. Put on the new man, put off the old man. Okay? Now, this is not the only way that you can shift states, but I think that when it's just that you want to manifest SP, right? And you're not trying to just completely change your whole entire fucking life, this is, in my opinion, one of the best techniques that you can use for shifting states. If you like other aspects of your life, maybe it's not even money that you're worried about. It's just that you want to get that SP, and you notice a pattern of all the SPs that you have a crush on leave you, ghost you, or don't feel the same way. Then simply create an alter ego where you have the same job, have the same fucking dirty ass pair of shoes, but the only difference is you are that motherfucker who's a god at relationships. And what would you call your alter ego, right? Come up with a fucking creative name. Remember, I took mine off of combining H.P. Lovecraft's Nyarlathotep with the baddest motherfucker in the MCU, Thanos, right? Because those two characters resonated with me. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret. The reason why this works is because the person right now who's watching this video, okay, look in the mirror. You look at your nose. Look at your eyes. Look at your boogers, right? Every flaw that you can perceive physically and circumstantially, this person that you have believed yourself to be with conviction for all these 20, 30 plus years of your life is simply an illusion, okay? All the parts of your personality were inherited by something you watched on TV, was inherited by the way that you were brought up from your parents. If it wasn't for the things you were perceiving growing up as a child, the qualities of this avatar, this body that you were in, would not even be there in the first place, right? So in reality, you never had a personality to begin with. You aren't a person. You are an eternal being living in a human experience. You are not a brain. You are not your mind. You are not a body. You are just awareness, observing the mind and the body. Awareness does not have eyes. It does not have teeth. It does not have to eat food, drink water, or pay rent. It is simply awareness, and that's all you are. So what that means is that if you can believe that you have been this illusion, this person who does a 9 to 5 and listens to Bad Bunny every single day, if you can believe that you are this person and without a shadow of a doubt no one could tell you otherwise, well then you can simply believe that you are a different version of yourself, but this time in your favor. So just remember that, guys. I am Neil Lartos. This is all that the I Am Awareness had to say, and I know you're going to be okay.